Hey, you know what? There's a button I have to press that actually makes my voice go out on the internet. I should actually press that button. Cool. I have done so. Now you can hear me out on the internet. Um, awesome. Cool, cool. Sorry. Okay, so I will restart my monologue. So, welcome to October, spooky month. Um, as it is officially unofficially called. If you were here for last week's stream, you may have seen me planning out the adventure that you see prominently displayed on the screen, The Legacy of Lies. It is a jumpstart for the Vampire the Masquerade 20th Anniversary Edition Dark Ages game. That's a whole lot of words to say a role playing game that focuses on vampires in the Dark Ages. In this particular adventure, the characters will be playing different vampires from different what are known as clans, attempting to maneuver through the murky vampire politics and untangle a plot that is going on in the background. So, uh, this may be part one of a part two stream. It depends. We have a time limit, and this is a complicated adventure, and we have beginning players. So, if you are watching this in the VOD, just be warned that the first part of this is likely going to be us talking about how the system works and how particular it works with Roll20 as well. Um, for those of you who are new to the stream and trying to figure out what all this has to do with something called Lore Link and what is that box underneath me, I have a note of congratulations for you. They are the same thing, and my shirt matches my green screen. Awesome. I forgot color green, sometimes not the best to wear on stream. Cool. But because of that, you can now see Lore Link, which is the thing beneath me labeled GM screen. What that refers to is that LoreLink is a tool for GMs to help them keep track of players and characters and other such things that come up during an adventure, let them plot out their adventure in advance, and then be able to manipulate and basically link things together and figure out exactly where things are, where things going. If you're interested in how this session got planned out, if you go to our YouTube channel, you'll be able to see everything, basically how I went through planning out this adventure and discussed how that works with these kind of storytelling type streams. So, uh, to start this off, I will go ahead and introduce the players. We have four different players here playing some of the quick start characters from the adventure. Um, I will go ahead and let them. I will release them from mute so that they can be heard. Hello, hi. You all are now unmuted. So we'll start with basically we have Martine, Michael, 20, and Tony, who are all playing four different characters. Um, basically that is from the adventure, they're pre-built. Note that if you are watching this, you may note the fact that these are all four of these people. Well, 50% of them at least are beginning characters for uh, vampire in particular. I think three out of the four basically have never played vampire in particular. They've played World of Darkness before. So we will have some missteps. We will have some brief pauses to deal with. How does this work in this system? As we sort that out, just to let everybody know. Yes, more fires. Woot. So if people basically are confident and willing, I will go ahead and let each of you introduce yourselves and the character you're playing. Um, if you are not, I can go ahead and give you a brief summary. Um, for those of you who have not dealt with World of Darkness before, the the two most important, basically kind of not important things, but the defining traits, your kind of your alignment if you're more used to a uh Pathfinder D&D type system are those two things on top of your sheet called nature and demeanor. Um, for those of you who have not basically maybe curious in Roll20, if you click on that newspaper icon that you see on the right side of the screen, you can see the fact that there's a list of characters. You should be able to click on your character and then go to character sheet, where you'll get a handy little character sheet which will show you all of your stats and abilities and things like that. So uh, basically, I'm just bringing this up because it may somewhat influence how you wish to characterize your character. Nature and demeanor are the two key traits there. Nature and demeanor both are essentially, nature is what type of person you actually are, and demeanor is the mask that you put on to deal with people. To quickly give a quick rundown of basically architects, you desire to build something that it was more basically that something important that will endure after you are gone. Bon vivant, you only want to enjoy the pleasures of life. Chameleon, you blend in effortlessly, regardless of your social circles. Conformist, you choose to be part of the crowd and not work for the advancement for the group, and work for the advancement of the group. Defender, you are stalwart in your beliefs and will do whatever it takes to defend them. Judge, you carefully evaluate all the evidence before reaching a decision. Mercenary, you'll do anything if the money is good enough. Rebel, we are all enslaved in one way or another, but you're never trying to stop rebelling. Rogue, you look out for yourself, a little concerned for others. And Survivor, whatever it takes, you'll be the last one standing. Those are slightly different, um, basically between the two in terms of Survivor is more you will work with others because you realize that will keep you alive longer. Rogue, you really don't even care about that. Traditionalists, the tried and true methods are always best, and innovation is always to be distrusted. And visionary, you have an idea for a better future and will do whatever it takes to achieve it. Uh, so those are what those words in nature and demeanor on your character sheet will tell you. Uh, so with that, let's go ahead and I will take a brief breath and stop talking so the players can actually introduce themselves. We'll start with you, Martine.
So I am going to be playing Ellen Bennett. I am royalty and I know it. Didn't exactly know about the whole vampire thing, but I guess I'm a vampire now. Yeah, being that I am noble royalty and know I'm a noble, I was, raised up as a noble. I know all of the noble things, and am very confident that I will become that I will can rule and be a good ruler. As long as there was a specific group I was specifically wanting to rule. Um, so yeah. Anyway, but I'm a good ruler. I'm awesome, and I'm royalty, and I know it.
Okay. Mike.
Hi, I'm Gareth Clay. I know things. I know all the things. And this knowledge can be yours for the right price if you really want to deal with me.
20.
I'm sorry, I was busy being creeped out. um Today I am playing Ibrahim Ayub, and he's pretty smooth. Like, he's pretty charming. And he won't, he's one to make note of information. He's one to charm people into getting what he need, or doing what he wants them to.
And last but not least, Tony.
And you say that right as the dog start barking. Right, I'm going to be playing Heat Sieg this evening. Pretty much, they're out to see the world. That's what they're out to do, and if they have to be around people to do it, so be it.
Okay. As a brief introduction, because the player is the players, each of you has a clan association with you. That clan essentially determines your power set. If you want to think of it more as a role playing term, it is essentially your class. Um, it is a little bit more. It's like a combination of class and race kind of rolled together. Um, what it determines is your initial power set, kind of your focus, your weaknesses, and generally gives a stereotypical starting point for how others will react to you. In this case, Ellen Bennett, played by Martine, is a Ventru who, pretty much as she said, the Ventru are burdened with the horrible, horrible knowledge that they are destined to rule. And they know that in the deep, basically in their deep, deep, basically soul, and it is a burden on their hearts. It's also a burden on everybody else because they don't let anyone else forget that. They tend to be the leaders in social situations. They are not always the top dog, um, but they always are plotting and trying to and planning to be if they are not. Um, their weakness is the fact that because of the fact that they consider themselves so much above everyone else, they have literally bred themselves into being picky eaters. Um, they can only feed on one type of mortal. In the case of Ellen Bennett, she can only basically she feels like that her job as a hunter is only to cull the weak, so she will only actually feed upon those who are basically who are chronically ill or injured. Um, basically, Mike's character Gareth Clay uh, is what is known as a Nosferatu, based on basically the old movie Nosferatu. They are your traditional ugly vampires. They are twisted and horribly made repellent by this curse of vampirism. They literally cannot uh, be seen by anybody without anyone's first impressions of them instantly being EU. Um, so they tend to be the type to lurk in shadows, in darkness, wearing lots of masks or covering or hoods. They tend to be, because of this, they tend to be overlooked a lot, which also means the fact that they're they end up kind of forced into the roles of spy masters. Uh, so they tend to be the ones that have all the information because no one pays any mind to the Nosferatu. Uh, 20 is playing a
Please ignore me.
Toreador. Uh, Toreadors are the ones who wish they were the humans the most. They long for all of the things they had when they were human in terms of that they no longer can have because they are a vampire. They long for the taste of food, the warmth of a lover, the beauty of the rising sun, the joy of art, etc., etc. All of those things are basically there. That also feeds into their weakness as well. So the Toreador tend to be incredibly involved in art scenes or beauty or other things, but their weakness tends to be if they find that piece of art which appeals to them, which in Ibrahim's case is fine art itself. Um, Others it might be dancing, ballet, theater, etc. Um, Basically, or actual physical beauty. They have to roll self control in order to not fixate on it and obsess over it, uh, because that is their blessing and their curse, as it were. And Sitsig is the basically belongs to a clan called Gangrel, which where if Toreador are the ones which are wishing closest to be human, uh, the gangrel are kind of the other end, and they wish to be closer to the animal world. For the most part, they don't really care about civilization, insofar as civilization basically doesn't interfere with their territory or their way of life. But they're not animalistic and stupid enough to think that they can just ignore society. They have to make deals and things like that to keep their areas secure. Um, but they do tend to be a little bit more wild child, a little bit more hanging out in the woods, a little bit more likely to talk with ravens or dogs or bats or basically summon a cat or things like that. And basically their weakness is because of the fact that they are so close to the animal side, that if they lose control, some of that animal nature starts to break through and they lose even more control. And basically everything gets more difficult for them once that happens. um, Basically the last clan, which is the player which is not being played, but you may run into them, are known as the Bruja. They are essentially violent philosopher kings. One of their founders was a philosopher. Their first kin was basically more of a, we are part of the world and we must live in it and deal with it and claim our place. And one pretty much ate the other. And so because of that, they've got this mixture of basically kind of they want to be part of the world. They want to have a full philosophical discussion. They have a certain view, but if pushed too hard, they're likely to cave your head in. Oops. Uh, they tend to be more zealoty than others. So all of that to say, that brings us to where your characters are. So we bring ourselves in the dark ages of England. Um, basically, this is basically, so you're looking around uh, basically you're in the 1200s. So this is before Arthur has shown up and made nice with people. Basically the Isles and the English Isles and France are more, basically there aren't exactly large governments running around. Rome fell a while ago. The world has been plunged into a dark age. Um, and so local centers of power tend to be more the rule of the day than overarching empires. The remains of those empires are everywhere, and there are always those who basically wished for a return to that time, as it were. Um, it is, and so basically in terms, and this is even more true in terms of how the vampires interact. Vampires essentially have a similar kind of shadow uh, rulership, where their head of the local area is usually referred to as a prince. There may be a king who rules over princes, but those tend to be rarer. It tends to be, if you're in an area, the prince is has the final say on what goes on basically in that territory. Uh, as such, if you get a invitation from a prince, it is pretty much if you're in that area, you have to show up, in order to maintain some level of civility between all of these creatures of the night. However, princes tend to establish basically an area known as Elysium. This is a power center of theirs. It could be as simple as their royal court. It could be as expansive and elaborate as a moving festival that goes around the land. But basically the long and the short of it is Elysium is a place where everyone comes together under all the area power, all the local powers come together under the prince and play the game of court, as it were. As such, there are rules, and there are rules that must be obeyed, um, and they essentially break down as follows: the covenant, which is the first. Basically, they were called traditions. There is the covenant, which tends to be that you basically there is a hierarchy of allegiance. Basically in World of Darkness, they believe that the top vampire, the original vampire, was that of Cain, cursed by God, and all of the vampires are descended from that progeny. That is why you sometimes refer to themselves as Cainites. Not every vampire group believes that, but for the most part, uh, most of them at least pay lip service to that belief. The second tradition is domain, which is pretty much if you're in basically if a prince has essentially declared a territory, that is their territory. Progeny has to do with the fact that you cannot go around willy-nilly creating vampires. If you wish to create a vampire, you must get permission from someone in the area, which is the prince. Basically from the power in the area, in this case the prince. The fourth tradition is a county, which is basically you are essentially accountable for your children. So if you have been given the right to create children, you as their sire are responsible for them. Any actions that they do reflect back up on you, and any actions you do may be punished or reflected onto your children. Basically, destruction is the fifth one, which is the prince is the only one who can actually give final death basically in an area to another vampire. So if you have a beef with a vampire, you can plot, you can scheme, you can do all those things, but if you actually take their life, that is the basically you have gone too far. This is especially true in the Elysium, where even the shedding of blood is denied. And last is the silence of blood, which is, hey, don't let the mortals know we're out here. Violating that one will get you murdered real fast. So all of these rules and obligations and things like that all boil down to this. All of you have traveled here together to the court of the Prince of Chester. You had been invited. You received a letter which read as follows: My dearest Cainite, I am writing this night to formally invite you to the barony of Chester. It is my understanding that you've never stepped foot in this domain, and I am relaying information to sate your curiosity and ensure your well-being. Marcus Verus, the prince, has arranged for you to visit Chester on the behalf of your sire, who he has personally been in contact with. To settle a debt owed, you will perform a favor of Verus's choosing. Though you may believe this obligation is without consequence, I can assure you that performing such a favor is a chance for you, neonate, to prove yourself to a powerful prince. The specifics of your task and the rewards you may earn will be revealed to you in the meeting with your prince, who is currently away on business in Bath. You should know that Verus cares little for rumors. A former military general and a child of Mithras, king of all Britain, our prince assures you, our prince will assess your worth based on the value of your actions. I suggest setting aside gossip when you meet with him and comport yourself in a manner befitting a guest. I look forward to your arrival. Should you wish to speak to me further, you may seek my company in Chester. So with that, you will be basically your sire will confirm to you that this invitation is correct. The debt is in fact owed, and you are expected to fulfill this debt and basically and remove this obligation from your sire. No is not an acceptable answer in this case.
Yes, yes, of course. We will take care.
Okay. So, does anybody wish to do any investigation before you basically do any research or anything else before you would head that directions?
Do
Oh,
I
of
know
course.
anything from my noble background about this guy, or what? Have I run into him before or anything?
You are aware, basically all are aware of Mithras, King of Britain. He is basically you as basically as a fellow essentially British noble, uh basically also basically feel that you can trace your lineage back to Mithras. Yes. Um and thus basically you basically since you are basically also basically you are multiple generations away, but he is a more direct descendant of Mithras. As such, he is one of the bigger mover and shakers in English political circles. Um, Go ahead and so basically brief aside on how to do rolling. If you open up your character sheet in Roll20, um, you will see that on the top there is a section basically underneath Vampire the Dark Ages. There is a thing that says dice. You click on that, um, you will see basically dice pools, basically, and then boosted attributes, and then main dice pools. Main dice pools is how you can easily roll your stats for in basically in Roll20 for your character. If you click the add button, you will see attribute, ability, you'll see name, which doesn't really matter here, attribute and ability, discipline, modifiers, wound penalties, and difficulty. So how basically how the rolling system works in Roll20 is basically, or rather in World of Darkness and Vampire in particular, it's fairly straightforward. It is very similar to how you roll skills in the newer editions of D&D and Pathfinder, um, just made even more simplified. You have a stat, which is what is falls under attribute, and then you have an ability, which is essentially this skill. So you'll be rolling attribute and ability, and you add those two numbers together, which is the number of dots you have on that skill, and that will give you the number of dice you roll. You roll d10s, and you are trying to roll over a number. Base basically, which is called difficulty, which is that difficulty number off to the side. Um, so if I say, for example, for Martine here, she's wanting to recall something about politics in the local area. So I'm going to have her, because it's remembering something, I'm going to base it on intelligence. So that would be the ability. And then it's going to be politics as the skill. So she's going, if you were going to roll that, you would add politic. You would add something to your dice pool that says politics, and the attribute politics, the ability, or rather, sorry, attribute intelligence, ability politics. Yep, and then you would ask, basically, I would set a difficulty, which in this case will be 6, and then you will click roll.
I can't find politics. Please hold. There it is.
Basically, the drop downs do basically allow you to search by using typing, so you can usually just type the first couple of characters and it'll fill in. And then if you click roll,
Roll.
and basically it will add up all those dice and tell you how many successes you got. As long as you get one success, you are essentially assumed to have succeeded. More successes means you are even more successful. The only time, basically, 0 successes means the fact that you have failed. You have failed the task. If you have 0 successes, and you have rolled ones, then you are considered to have botched, and that means you will get incorrect information or something worse will happen. So with one success, you will basically, you do not know much about the inner workings of Marcus Verus's court, but what you do know, and what pretty much everyone knows, is that there has been a long-standing feud between Marcus and basically a French prince, or rather, not a French prince, but rather a French prince of Edinburgh, basically a French prince of Scotland, essentially, known as Robert Durand. He is a child of the French king. He is a Toreador, and the two of them essentially have an uneasy truce. They have basically it is not recently descended into the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It has not descended into open warfare in basically in years. But they have always been there is always scheming between the two of them. It is assumed that at some point, basically they will declare war on each other. And basically it will dissolve into open warfare. But for now, it is still a Cold War.
I relay this information to the rest of the group.
I would like to pursue my network of spies and see what they can give me about this situation.
Okay. So
Shake the tree a little, as it were.
let's see here. What are we going to have you roll for that? Anything in particular? What in particular are you asking them to look into?
I want details about the debt that is owed and the person that we're dealing with.
So you're wanting to look into what your sire in particular owes? Okay.
Yes, indeed. And any useful information about the person he owes it to would be great.
Well, you know that. He knows
Okay.
your sire owes a direct debt to Marcus Verus. That is pretty much straight up told to you.
Right. Oh yeah. But what are
Is it a money
what are the
debt or
weaknesses? Yeah. What are the weaknesses of Marcus Verus? What are his little idiosyncrasies? What should I know about how to deal with him?
Okay. Give me let's do that one as wits politics. That's a little bit more diggy.
Is that a 6?
Yep, we'll do it as difficulty 6. Okay. So, you are basically working on getting information on Marcus Verus himself. Um, the the debt that your master owe is incredibly difficult to dig up. The best that mostly because of the fact that a lot of your network also has some debts to your sire as well. And you get
Fair.
the feeling that once you start pushing on that thread, that they go to him and say, "Hey, do you want him to know this information?" And they get told no. Um, Basically what contacts you have separate, because of course you have your own separate ones. Um, you get the feeling that there came a point where one of your master's schemes came up with him basically him being basically found to be in debt to two people at the same time, and both debts came due at the same time. Uh, and Marcus was more like the basically more like Alexander the Great, and kind of cut through the center of the problem, uh, and removed one of the debts being owed, and assumed the other one. Now, what caused that situation, you can't find out exactly, but that also feeds into what you basically what you know about the character of Marcus Varus, which is that he is very definitely a military-minded man. Um, he takes his role as basically he is very much a views himself in the style of a Roman commander. He is
Got it.
so he is going to he will get to the bottom of the situation basically with short words. Um, he will basically that does not mean he's not able to play the politics game. Um, it's just that basically he tends to think of things in terms of campaign, which means he tends to plan things out longer term, deal with basically inevitabilities and things like that, as opposed to reacting in a more emotional manner on something.
Interesting. I have another strategist. I like it.
The other thing that you will get, since you got 4 successes, is that his court in particular, um, it is definitely stronger on the rule of law traditions in terms of like you will follow the rights of destruction, the rights of progeny, and things like that. It is curiously slightly less strict on the first tradition, in terms of uh, basically in terms of basically religious obligation. Um, your basically some of your spies theorized that this is likely due to the rumors that Mithras may see himself more of a god than
Mhm.
less basically than other vampires and such. A lot of his progeny tend to also basically, especially the direct progeny, tend to be a little bit lighter on the paying lip service to the Canaanite and the more traditional, we'll say, Catholic type tradition.
Got it. Okay. Good to know.
Um, Tony Sitzig, please roll me, if you would, perception alertness.
Perception alertness. No. I was paying attention. Why is this not coming up? Okay, remember, I'm not used to vampire. I'm also not used to Roll20.
No, that's fine.
So it's under main dice pools.
Yep. Click add. And then
But it's only saying strength for the attribute.
yeah, if you click on the attribute.
Oh,
Yeah, it's not this.
that's obvious.
Yeah, the UI design isn't great. They do not indicate that that is in fact a drop down.
Now I know, and knowing is half the battle.
Yep. Sewing is the other half, but that's a different Twitch channel.
So 0 successes.
0 successes. Okay. Something seems off to you about the letter, but you can't quite figure out what. 20. Have Ibrahim do the same thing. Perception plus alertness.
So I just add to my main dice pool.
Yep. I tend to use that to build out like some of the more like I have searching up there, perception awareness, which is going to be your default thing. Perception alertness is, do you notice something that may or may not be immediately obvious?
Okay. Is there a difficulty difference from 6?
Nope. 6 is all we need for this one.
Okay.
Abraham, of course, you as a man of fine, basically of fine things and pretty things, you immediately recognize that the letter has a slightly strange scent to it. Maybe to a mortal's awareness, it would not be obvious, but to you, you pick up basically that there is in fact the faint smell of perfume on the letter, as if it had been handled by someone who wears a basically continually wears a decent amount of perfume on a regular basis. You don't
Would the
good.
Sorry.
Nope,
Would the presence of the perfume indicate a gender to me?
In your opinion, basically in your awareness, this is definitely more of a female's perfume, but that is not a guarantee, especially in the weird world of basically the afterlife, as it were. Many use the chance of basically entering the afterlife to make changes to better fit them, to fit who they actually see themselves as.
Okay.
But to basically in your basically, if this was a mortal, you would assume it was female.
Okay.
And basically, you would assume that it was someone who is fairly well-to-do. This is not a, this isn't a basically A, it's perfume, which means obviously it's someone who has access to perfume. And B, it is a relatively expensive one at that.
Okay, and I have a clarifying question.
Mhm.
Do our characters already know each other?
You basically you are essentially introduced to each other when you arrive at the basically when you arrive at
The dinner?
at essentially the dinner, the basically when you go to meet him. Basically your sire would probably let you know that it was likely that others would also be there as well. And basically that when basically they would let you know that that they know from their contacts that he is not just calling in his debt alone. He is calling in multiples. Which all of you would basically, since all of you have never been to Chester before, this is definitely a deliberate act. All of you get that. All of you have enough sense to understand that calling in 4 outsiders around this at the same time is very definitely a deliberate act.
Seems like it. Very interesting. Kind of makes you wonder if we're not just here only for the debt. It's like calling in all your favors all at once. That's not suspicious at all.
You make a
Actually.
good point.
That's definitely a line of reasoning I need to pursue.
Okay. All right. So to keep things moving, since we are at 6 o'clock, we're barely started. But so you will find yourselves ushered into the presence of the prince. You will meet one Amhos II, who is a chamberlain. Basically introduces himself as the chamberlain of Marcus Varus. He is a basically tan skin, brown hair, basically brown eyes, dresses like a British nobleman, but very definitely has a Egyptian feel to him. And this is kind of confirmed by the fact that he seems to be wearing a scarab around his neck. You are uncertain of whether he is kin or not. It is difficult to tell. He basically, your first guess would be yes, but you don't have any easy way of identifying what clan he would belong to. Each of you kind of look at him and get your own opinions, and he does not clarify the matter at all.
Does he smell mortal?
It is hard to tell. He isn't wearing any sort of basically perfume or cologne, but even to your senses, he smells of dusky sand and desert winds, and that's about it. He will he will greet each of you individually, remembering your name, thanking you for being here on behalf of your sire. He will correctly pronounce each of your names and the names of your sire. And then we'll reiterate the warning that was in the letter, that the prince does not appreciate gossip, or basically gossip or other gossip or rumors, and that you should treat him with the respect that his station demands. Basically, he will then basically usher you into the court. Everyone at this point can give me perception perception awareness at this point.
Nothing but the most incredible
Difficulty.
discretion on my part.
Difficulty 6.
Yes, difficulty 6. Unless I say
you say-
otherwise, assume difficulty 6.
Did you say perception awareness?
This one is, yes, awareness.
Okay.
I have my head so far up my own behind, I can't tell where I start from where I end.
Wow, is that actually a botch? Yeah, that is 100% a botch. Okay.
That's painful.
Okay. Gareth is on high alert. Tsitsig is no, okay. So basically, both Tsitsig and Ibrahim, you both get the feeling that someone is watching you as you go into this room. Ellen, you are fairly certain that Amhos is basically kind of basically staring daggers into your back as you go. You in particular. Um, this basically you feel like he has obviously heard of you and considers you a rival since you are other nobility in the area.
He's out to get me, in other
He's
words.
out to get you, yes. And basically, which makes sense since obviously you are the only other high royalty in the area. Um, but Gareth, you are fairly basically you catch the glimpse of someone with blonde hair, um, just basically you catch them having to walk back and forth in the hallway. There's plenty of couriers and servants and other people who are walking back and forth in the hallway just outside the doors to the audience chamber that you're about to go in. But you catch the fact that this figure has basically crossed back and forth multiple times.
Pacing back and forth.
They're attempting to make it look less obvious than that.
Okay.
And they walk with enough purpose, and basically they change what they have in their hands or how they're standing or where they're looking. Um, Sometimes they have like pull the hood up or otherwise trying to change their profile, as it were, to make it less obvious. But you just happen to catch the way that they walk and realize it's the same person multiple times.
Got it.
um Essentially walking basically through this area, um paying a little bit more undue attention.
Am I free to move about, or am I kind of stuck sitting or standing or?
You're being ushered into the audience chamber right now, essentially.
And so they're in the audience chamber, or they're
They're
outside, kind of.
outside. Basically, you were met outside the audience chamber by Amhos, who
Got it.
reiterates the instructions about
Yep.
be on your best behavior. And you notice this person basically hanging about a little bit less subtly than your notice, basically in your ability to notice.
Yeah. Am I able to get a good description? Is it somebody that I recognize, or I'm just kind of aware that they're
You're kind of aware that they're there. It's
there?
basically they're
I
doing a
will.
good job of not standing out,
Okay.
making themselves notice. You're just having to catch the fact that okay, that gait that they have, that bulge under their
Mm-hmm.
cloak, that likely indicates a sword.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, a couple of minor things like that. You're like, oh, okay, that's the same person. Um, but like they'll get up and like leave the room, but then they'll show back up in another cloaked figure matching that same type of walk will show up in a different part of the room. Um, they do interact with other people in the room, so it's not like they are hiding or skulking. Um,
Yep.
they're just not deliberately making their presence known to you or Amhos.
Got it. Well, in that case, I'm going to do nothing about it because I'm not supposed to gossip, and I'm wanting to be on my very best behavior. But I am going to be keeping an eye out for something suspicious, especially if there was a bulge indicating they might be armed or up to no good.
Okay. Uh, you are ushered into the prince's presence. Um, the prince himself looks like that. Uh, the male figure in the center. Ignore the cutout in the bottom left. They didn't give me a clear way of giving a good picture of him. But as you can see, basically, he does appear as he does in that picture. He is wearing armor. There is a sword. Basically, if not basically laying across his lap, then within easy reach of the seat that he is sitting in. Cloak thrown back. Basically solid and fit man, nearing 50 with graying dark hair. He's gruff. Basically, he's very definitely keeps his hair shaven in a close military style. And basically, the room that you enter is very definitely decorated out in a Roman, basically a Roman style. There are basically obvious relics from the Roman Empire scattered throughout the room. And the throne itself has basically several touches which indicate basically not only his family, as it were, which aka Mithras, his relationship to Mithras and that sort of coat of arms. And also it has very much double eagles and a lot of things like that. It would not have looked out of place in a Roman forum, as it were. He basically, you can tell from the fact that basically his eyes flicker over each one of you, and you can tell pretty much instantly he is sizing you up and measuring. Basically, he takes note of any weapons you may have brought, concealed or otherwise, and just kind of makes note of all of them. He flicks his eyes to Amhos, who allowed you in, gives a single curt gesture to basically to Amhos, which Amhos immediately bows and backs out of the room, closing the door. Another curt gesture indicates to basically brings out a set of servants who basically offer you whichever indulgence you would like. Water, wine, blood. It is not a large amount of any of it, but it is all offered to you. And basically, after you make your choices,
Anyway, yes, I will take a bit of blood, thank you. Just a taste.
another curt gesture will and the servants will disappear back into shadows around the room. It is not obviously it is not 100% obvious whether they are still in the room or not. The room has been designed so that the servants can come in and out quickly without disturbing any of the occupants. He will look at you. He will kind of glance between all of you, kind of frown slightly at Gareth, and then kind of probably end up resting his eyes on Ellen. And basically he glances at all of you throughout when he's talking, but his default gaze returns to her. Greetings. I appreciate your promptness in replying to my message. I am glad to see that you have traveled here safely and have not suffered unduly on your journey. I will be brief. I have some information. I have information that I need to obtain. I am not at liberty to be able to gain this information directly. As such, I need basically you to make. I need others, those who are outside of my court, to basically get this information for me. You are all trusted. You've come all from trusted sires. who all have owed me a favor, and as such, I believe I can trust with this information. And so I wish you to accomplish this task for me. As such, I will grant you traveling papers. You will go to a place known as Rouen, Rouen, which is a seaport in France. You are there to meet with one Adrien Dubois, who is I apologize in advance for murdering the French in this, and I will attempt not to do a bad French accent at any given point. Given that there is someone here who could actually, do a much better one. Dubois? I think Dubois is right.
Dubois?
Dubois. Yeah. Okay, there it is.
Dubois.
Thanks. Adrien Dubois, a painter, who is in the city of Rouen, and I'm probably Ruoen.
Rouen.
Raw.
Wah.
There you go. Close enough.
I was like, I am not going to get that precisely. You are to basically. I have basically. He is basically actually at this point. What would that be? That is intelligence. We'll call that academics. I think that's correct. Let me double check. I'm going to steal your character sheet briefly, Ibrahim. Yeah, we'll go with academics on that one. Intelligence academics.
For whom?
Everyone. Because see, this
Oh,
guy, when he
everyone.
mentions
Okay.
Adrien Dubois.
Intelligence.
I'm not finding academics.
All the way down to knowledges.
Ah, there it is.
Yeah, again, you can just start typing and it will.
I tried that. It didn't work.
Really?
Yeah, but it could be just user error.
What's the attribute ability again? I'm sorry.
Intelligence academics.
There we go.
Well, apparently I'm book smart.
Gareth
Nice.
could not roll failures today. Okay.
I will have made a note that when based upon how he scanned us and whose attention he got,
Mhm.
Clearly this is somebody that values physical prowess over intellect, and I will have made a note of that.
Well, he is focusing on the only other Ventru in the room. Okay. Basically, T-Sync, you're like, that's a dude. I don't really care what that dude is. It's probably somebody everyone else considers important for some reason. He hasn't done anything of note that you have heard of. However, Ibrahim, Ellen, and Gareth, who all roll three successes, basically three or four successes, obviously no. Basically, anybody who knows anything, has heard of Dubois. He is a very, very famous Toreador vampire painter. His paintings hang in both mortal and canine halls. He is well known for the fact that for basically multiple things. He is well known as a strong painter of well renowned. He is basically associated with many circles. You are actually gazing. Basically, you are fairly certain Ibrahim, that you at least spotted one of his paintings on your way into the audience chamber, hanging in these halls. Ellen, you're fairly certain that you have one of his paintings as well. Um, the other thing that all of you are aware of, especially Gareth, um, basically, is the fact that he tends to be a little bit more symbolic with his paintings. Um, and there are many who speculate over hidden messages in his paintings. So basically, the fact that basically did that rose on that skull mean something? Did that bird landing on that tree mean, basically, is that a symbol? Is that mean something? Is that indicating it?
Always means something.
And several people, basically in your circles, Gareth, they're pretty much convinced that he has some relation to some society which is feeding him information.
Got
Um,
it.
Mostly because of the fact that he tends to be basically, he is remarkably well off for a freelance painter. Um, and so basically, somebody gave him his start. Someone is applying him money during his dark times, basically during his basically dry periods. Um,
What
and
I know, sorry,
good.
what I know would through my contacts, given that fine art is a thing for me, what I know, who his patron may have been in the beginning,
Um,
like who it is that has got given him his start.
you are not aware of, basically, you know that basically you can probably give a list of all of his patrons, and you know the fact that they include both Marcus Verus and Robert Durand, his Scottish rival. Both have commissioned him at various points. Also the French king has also commissioned him at various points as well. Mithras, not so much, just because of the fact that Mithras is a little bit more uninvolved. Um, but no one knows in particular what. Basically, you have heard rumor. Basically, you are very proficient in the symbolism that he is in, and so you are fairly certain that he basically. Whereas Gareth knows the fact that he's probably employed by some kind of society, you are aware of the fact that he has very definitely been used as a messenger. People have commissioned paintings to give to other people, uh, using basically using symbols or other things, uh, and and thus basically uh, prophesies doom or glory for individuals, which has shortly come true thereafter.
Okay.
Uh, Marcus continues, basically noting that all of you, with the exception of Sitsig, basically have recognition in your eyes as he mentions that name. Uh, he says, "Indeed, that famous that famous painter did reached out to me recently in a very basically through multiple basically through multiple through channels to inform me of the fact that he had information that he could not reveal in writing, that would be of very basically of much importance to me, uh, great importance to me. That'd be a better word for it. Uh, as such, I need to know. I need to send someone down there to contact him and find out what he knows, find out what concerns him. I will be honest with you. I suspect that what information he will reveal to you will lead you to other information. I am asking you to follow up on that information. Figure out if what he knows, basically what he claims to know, is true. Um, Act on it as necessary, uh, and then return to me with whatever, basically with proof of whatever information he has presented to you. I do not wish you to go there and merely return to me with whatever rumors he states. I want more deliberate information and facts. Basically, I will accept your word on what you say, but I expect it to be more concrete and less vague. Also note that when you do return, you will bring whatever witnesses or correspondence you have found directly to me. No one else.
And of course, we understand.
Hey, boss, I've got a kid that's wanting to call, so I got to jet, okay?
Yep. Catch you later.
Sorry, y'all. Later.
Bye, Tony.
Go.
We'll wrap up this scene and then we'll probably put it on pause for as we will reach a good breaking point here soon.
Sounds good.
Real
Yes?
quick, since we kind of paused, what the hell is this prince's name again?
Marcus Verus.
Marcus
Thank you.
Verus.
Yes, it is a ridiculously Roman sounding name. If you
I
look,
mean,
yeah, if you look in your journal where you see your character sheet, you should see a handout with his name on it.
yeah.
I
Thank you.
believe you can. Now you should be able to edit it if you want to add notes on it.
Thank you.
Cool. So we need to go get documents and bring them back to him.
You are to go. Basically, you are to go figure out what this painter, what secret this painter holds.
Hmm.
Basically, remove the excess fluff and exaggeration that the painter no doubt will put on it, and bring him back cold, concrete facts.
Yeah.
I expect you to do this in confidence and as quickly as possible. You will likely find me back in Chester on your return. I'm only here briefly. I am taking care of some obligations that I must. I have
Very good.
business to take care of.
We will be able to find you.
I certainly hope so.
Thank you for the opportunity to do this small task for you. I do greatly appreciate it.
Basically, do not get me wrong. I do not believe this will be a small task. I am in no way. I do wish no way to lie to you and make you think that this is simply a errand, basically a brief task that could be handled by a servant. This will likely be dangerous. There will be others who wish this information. There will likely the information itself will put you in danger. So, do not think yourselves safe just because you are working with my name.
Your Highness, will there be a provision for travel?
You will have traveling papers that will allow you to come and go freely from my domain and into the basically into the land of basically into the kingdom of basically where Ruin is located.
Of course, but yes. I do believe there may be a financial component of such travel. I do believe that is what my friend was getting at.
Well, actually, I was simply wondering if we will have to provide our own travel or if travel will be provided for us.
Very good, very good. Yes. No.
As you are outsiders to my court, there is nothing. There are no assets of the court itself I can provide you with, without compromising the nature of this mission.
Yes. Very good, very good.
Understood, Your Highness.
Do any of the others you have further? Do any of you have further questions?
Simply eager to be along our way and on our task.
That is what I like to hear.
I
As we're
think-
dismissed. Go.
I think I have all the information I need, Your Highness.
As soon as we're dismissed, I'll begin making travel arrangements.
Okay. Anyone basically is anyone doing anything else in here?
In this room? No.
In the audience chamber, yes.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
As we exit, I will keep an eye out for that person that had been pacing around, and if I do see them, I may try to get more information from them.
Go ahead and make me a search check. You do not spot them in the immediate room outside the audience chamber.
Oh, well.
All the success.
Oh, well. All right.
You will be approached by Amhos, who will kind of, well, basically give you a curt nod and say, I am sure that Marcus has given you the information that you need to, basically to undertake your mission. Is there anything in particular, anything logistical that you need that you wish to ask from me?
Presumably, this would be a ship that we need, and not a coach.
Indeed.
I actually have no idea how far away it is. Any recommendations?
I would recommend that you go to the port and basically,
Yeah.
seek a captain there.
Did Amhos mention his title or anything when we met him? I might have missed it.
The letter introduced him as his chamberlain.
The Chamberlain. Thank
Yes.
you. Making a couple notes.
Okay. As you look to exit, basically, as you go to exit the area, basically exit the building, down one of the many hallways, a figure basically falls into step beside you. Gareth, you will recognize it as the figure who was in the basically previously keeping an eye on you.
Okay.
Beside which of us specifically?
Basically, essentially falling into the grooves. Basically, and once you reach a point where there are fewer servants visible, there's always at least one servant hovering nearby, but basically you're crossing through a larger emptier room hall, basically, as you are heading towards the exit. They will step closer and basically it is going to be like, pardon, did I overhear that you are working with the prince?
I don't know why you would have overheard it. It was quite closed in there. How would you know?
Basically, she kind of basically she, as it becomes quickly obvious that it is a she. Um, Smiles and says, "Well, all of the business of the court is my business. I am, after all, basically one of the prince's courtiers, and so the comings and goings of the court are always my business. Now, what business you had, of course, with the prince itself, that is, of course, your own discretion. But I am always here to make sure that those who are involved in the princess's businesses are, as they say, on the up and up."
And I understand why one would want to be sure of such a thing as a courtier. My name is Ibrahim. Yours?
Ibrahim. I am Merwin Hayward. They are basically they aren't wearing the hood up currently. So they are dressed more like this. They do have a sword belted at their side. And it is fairly obvious that they are, in fact, a fellow Cainite, as it were. Um, Ibrahim, basically, I am Merwin Hayward, basically courtier to Marcus Varus, and basically lady of this fair land that we find ourselves in. Do tell, basically,
Please.
I do not wish to pry into your business because obviously, if the prince wished to involve me in your business, he would have obviously summoned me directly. However, I do wish to know if there is any help that I can be without obviously betraying your mission.
Well, we do need to procure overseas travel. Do you have anyone to recommend? You know, a good company where the boats are reasonably well appointed and safe?
For the overseas travel is always a bit tricky for ones of our kind. But let me see. There is at least one captain, Captain Mayweather. He is located. Let me double check something really quickly here. Oops, nope, wrong page. He would basically. Are you basically? If basically, but he is mostly basically Mayweather is mostly located for going out to Plymouth, and I apologize in advance if I invoke a city which does not exist during the Dark Ages. You'll just have to deal with that for right now. Now, basically, so he would help you if you were going more towards France or Spain. If you were more heading to the more easterly, you would need probably someone going out of what's the biggest city on that coast? Grimsby or Southend. Dover is the one I want. There we go. Basically, if you're looking for a captain out of Dover, you're probably looking for Captain Fairchild. he has been
Very good.
known to make those deals. Would you like a letter of introduction to either of those?
I do believe Plymouth sounds like the correct one.
Ah, excellent. You will give me but a moment. I can retrieve basically where would you like to basically would you like me to include an address? Basically not address, basically a port, or do you wish to give him that information when you arrive?
I think it'd be best to give him that information when we arrive.
Ah, excellent, excellent. Give me just a moment, if you will. Basically, if you will wait here, I can retrieve, basically get a letter for you shortly. And basically, she ducks quickly out of sight. Everyone can go ahead and give me perception awareness. I'll actually roll for Sitsika as well. Okay. Okay. All of you can make a note of the direction that she heads. And she is in fact heading back towards the basically towards the rooming, basically towards the stairs that lead to the quarters that which most of the vampires here are what's the right word for this? Living, basically where they live, where they spend their days. Let's say it that way. Sitsik, however, will basically will kind of make a brief scoffing noise and will murmur something about same perfume.
Once we move out of earshot, I will
Oh, I
include-
was muted. I have a quick question. Sorry.
Yes.
Does Ibrahim hear Sitig say that?
Yeah, basically they murder it under their breath, but you're all vampires with at least somewhat better hearings, and you're the only one in this room.
Uh-huh. Okay, Ibrahim just looks at Sitig. And then go ahead, Martine.
It's like I'm very. I'm kind of whispering, but it's just like, do we trust her? This whole situation seems awful suspect.
Not even a little bit.
Well, I don't know if I would use the word trust, but I prefer to at least try the route of diplomacy and talking before anything else. And if she's willing to give us information, information is currency, my dears.
Oh, of course.
Oh, don't I know it?
We should just. I'm just advocating by not implicitly trusting this captain she is setting up with.
Oh, yes, we'll have to make our own judgment.
I'm not convinced this whole entire mission isn't an entire ambush in and of itself.
It's very interesting to call in so many favors at once.
Indeed.
Yes, I think I would like to discuss this more, however, outside of the prince's abode.
Oh, of
I
course.
concur. I concur.
Out.
Okay. She returns after a brief bit and hands over a letter sealed with basically a signet ring, which you also spot on her finger as well. Here you basically. Excellent. You were still here. Good. I was afraid that you might have wandered off and gotten lost. Um, she hands you the letter. So you will find him most likely at the Drunken Mermaid. If not there, he will likely be at the Roaring Lion. It depends on the night and how well the previous journey has done him. Uh, the more basically, if he is at the Drunken Mermaid, he is more likely to be more desperate, shall we say. The Roaring Lion might indicate that he has had a good haul and therefore may feel that he is not as obligated as he sometimes might feel. That might be otherwise. If nothing else, he basically we do basically he does not know what we are, so please don't spoil that. But he does understand that occasionally, from time to time, people show up and ask him for passage overnight rather than during the day. And as such, he is amenable since we usually pay well.
Yes, yes.
Don't trust his crew further than you can throw them. Do be polite though to his crew, and basically, if you do find yourself hungry, do try to satisfy yourself before going out on the vessel, as it is frowned on. Basically, if he would be less happy if some of his crew disappeared over the ship's rail because he provided us a service.
That makes sense.
Well, that just seems prudent, doesn't it?
Yes. Is there anything else I could possibly help you with? Basically, I will let you basically. Obviously. I seek to serve the prince, and that is why I am giving you this information. I hope that you intend to serve the prince well. I know that you are not directly obligated to him, but I do wish to assure you that if he has given you a order, whatever that may be, that it is within. Basically, it is obviously within his grand plan, and he knows what he is doing. And when he says, if he says, which he probably has, that he does not wish to spend time on gossip or idle information, be assured that that is what he means. Bring back something concrete.
Well, we obviously shall take your good advice under advisement.
Okay. Excellent, excellent. I'm glad to hear that. She kind of frowns just slightly. And then kind of basically looks like she's debating something to herself. And then she says, "Is there I don't mean to pry again. It's so difficult to balance the acts of wanting to keep your prince safe from basically from others, and basically respecting his right in order in, as he would say it, of course, chain of command. um is your mission clear cut, straightforward? I don't wish to assume that he basically. I can understand that sometimes he comes across as brusque and direct, and so tends to give what he feels are complete orders without necessarily filling in details, especially for one of you, when sources you that may not understand uh, his court or how he operates.
My dear lady, he was very gracious in allowing us plenty of opportunities to ask questions, and I do believe we were all satisfied with the information we were given.
Yes, yes, quite satisfied. Very good in details. Just enough, not too much.
Hmm.
Did not belabor the point.
No, that is not his way at all. Very direct, to the point. Uh, hmm. I just sometimes we have to be careful what steps we take around here, especially given the situation. I know for a fact that obviously the situation with the Scottish prince, as you may have heard, is a fragile one. And so I wish to make sure that you're not going to make any missteps or misinterpret any of his commands in such a way that might derail that situation.
At this point, I'm getting annoyed with this chick,
Okay.
and I'll say something along the lines of like, diplomatically and with high court, all of the flourishes of who do you think, do you really think we're uncultured miscreants, stupid, like, well, who do you think we are? We are perfectly capable of handling ourselves in manners which are, um, befitting of not creating an international incident.
So you'd like to pretty much say thank you, basically thank you for your time. Please leave before you're I'm forced to insult you. Um, but do it in a way that they feel like they've been complimented by you on the way out. Okay.
Exactly.
Give me manipulation etiquette. Um, we'll set the basically. Yeah, we'll set it at difficulty 6.
I'm sorry, I missed it. What are we doing?
This is just
Just from our team?
Ellen is attempting to very basically courtly and politely thank Merwin for all of her efforts and help, but tell her to back off.
Yeah, she's certainly not getting my smooth brush off.
Politely, we are done. 5 successes.
That's pretty successful.
Holy cow. Well done.
Okay. So you very politely with all the flourishes kind of pull her away from the rest of the group and so that you and her can talk as equals, as obviously you recognize that she also basically as a fellow Ventru, which you have figured out that's what she is. um Basically, and obviously, she is an older venture. She is basically you can't guess her age exactly, but you're guessing that she is basically an older venture. So you're like you pull her aside and thank her for all that she has basically all that she has done for you. But the fact that you feel like that at this point you need to leave because this kind of conversation that you're having cannot go too far, especially in the presence of, well, the others. Um, and you know how we have talked too much, and basically as much as you would like to talk further about what was said to you and about the prince, you basically it is not proper to discuss such things in front of the lower clans, as it were. And you can glance significantly at the Nosferatu when you do that. Um, she will blush.
My ears twitch slightly.
She will very definitely blush slightly. That's not blush slightly. She's a vampire. She can't blush. Unless she wants to. She will basically kind of shake her head, and say, "Oh, of course, of course." I apologize for saying as much as I have. But it is very definitely my concern that the prince may be treading into dangerous situations, that he is basically the polite he has grown more tired these days, and I fear that he may be making preparations to retire, as it were. And as such, I fear that he may be acting out of character, me taking steps that he otherwise would not, and perhaps setting up situations that the rest of us will have to clean up, as it were. Uh, and so I urge you to be on your guard. Um, and if you do encounter something that would put our reputation, our standing, basically as a whole, not as individuals, at risk, please let me know.
Of course. We of the upper ranks should need to stick together and maintain the social order.
And step in when necessary to uh, take corrective action when necessary.
Of course, of course.
Excellent. Well, I will see you later then. And then she will disappear back into the hallways.
So I'll rejoin the group and be like, so shall we?
Yeah, let's go do this.
Indeed.
Presumably, we're gonna need a coach to get to the docks.
Yes.
So we'll have to.
That
an
you can
arrangement.
arrange for. Basically, there will be someone at the gates will be willing to have a coach hired for you that will take you to whichever destination you wish to go to. So basically for setup for next time, are you going to Plymouth to meet with Captain Mayfield, or are you going to a different town?
I thought it was Mayweather. Oh,
Mayweather?
God.
That's fine. I may have misspoke. And
Either
it was
way,
Fairchild. I know that. It
yeah,
probably was me.
Fairchild was the other one I wrote down.
Okay, I will change it in my notes to be Mayweather, because I wrote down my notes after talking for a bit. So
That happens.
I don't think my character needs anything else in the immediate vicinity, so I'm ready to travel to Plymouth.
okay. Does anyone else want to do anything else before departing the prince's court?
No, not before departing the court.
Okay.
Might need to feed before we take an ocean voyage, but
We can handle that basically when you get to the port. I think this is as good as a pausing point as any.
Yep. Sounds good.
And so we will have a discussion offline, basically, as it were, with basically to get people's opinions and how this went. If people enjoy this, we will continue on, and you will find us back here next week. Basically, continuing to play through this adventure. Then the day after Halloween, still kind of spooky season, close enough. That's technically All Saints Day, so a little bit more awkward, I guess, but close enough.
I mean, you know, perhaps we can pray for the souls of our characters' victims.
All right, that's good. Just as a reminder, that's good. So that was what will be happening most likely here on Lore Link next week. Basically, keep an eye on our Twitter or our Facebook accounts if you wish to be informed exactly what will be happening here next week. It'll be at the same time, hopefully starting a little bit earlier, not any technical problems or anything like that. At 5 o'clock, basically at 5 o'clock next Tuesday. Then the Friday after that, I will be joining basically many of these people here, possibly plus some additional ones as well, to do basically on a stream for charity. We will be, thank you, 20. we'll be playing some kind of it. We'll be doing some kind of group activity, either more role playing games or computer games or something else. Basically, we'll see what happens, and we'll have more information about that. Shenanigans will definitely occur. That is for benefiting Riley's Children's Hospital. Through the Extra Life Foundation, any money that you donate during that event goes directly to them, does not go through us. We don't have any cut or anything like that. We're just playing games to raise awareness about it. As basically as many people in this group have been blessed and benefited by the Riley's Children's Hospital taking care of small children and keeping them safe, and so we feel the need that we should basically give back and encourage others to do so as well. Outside of that, if you want to know more information about LoreLink, which is the website that I was using down there, you could see the fact that I was basically adding notes and keeping track of characters and things like that throughout the adventure. Basically, you can go to the link which 20 has just posted. If you're listening to this now, obviously on the VOD on Twitch or on the VOD uploaded probably tomorrow to YouTube. Feel free to basically, if you wish to help us out here and find out more information about this, subscribe to this channel or subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video. And of course, the best way, if you want to know more about LoreLink, is in fact just actually go to the website and sign up, and you can actually join the alpha and be able to use the software that you see that I'm using below, and with basically be able to give us advice and shape the future of it. With that, I think we have basically I've exhausted all the things I should say before signing off, like a good marketing person should. So I will wish you all a good night and have a happy Halloween.